Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us tonight on episode 17, season 4 of the Standoff with Brandon Richie here on New Zealand Sport Radio. You can catch us live every Wednesday on Facebook throughout the season. Richard's on call at the moment and is currently out on a job, so he may or may not join us later in the show, but I've got a pretty good substitute in Paul. So I'll bring you in. I
thought Richie had been dropped and I'd been picked. I thought oh dear me, I didn't realize it was just because he was not available. I thought he'd been relegated. I thought he'd been his contract had been suspended. I mean, look, the what he got up with and what he got reported on was disgusting behaviour, and you're standing by him. I can't believe it.
If he keeps putting work before the show, it may be a conversation later on, but the title of tonight's episode was Bloody Melbourne. Melbourne ruined our multi this week, which I know Paul was really disappointed in, but it also ended the chances of Richard getting a perfect round in his tips. It was the only game he got wrong this week, so I'm sure he'd be very happy with how Melbourne let us all down. So there on the screen is our multi. Only one that got wrong. I am a bit more of a courageous person than Paul, so I pick every game in my multi. So I got 2 wrong, so I was screwed anyway. But yeah, Melbourne just let us down. One day, Paul, we'll get the multi, I'm sure.
Well, the good thing is at least I won my first ever rugby league bet on the Origin game.
Yes.
No spoilers, so I won't say who won, but there we go. Yes, and Jacko is saying, "Can I handle the pressure?" Oh, of course I can handle the jandle. How dare you, Jacko? How dare you?
Yeah. So while we're here live on Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m, also catch our show at your convenience on iHeartRadio, Spotify, all those places. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. As always, we're going to cover everything you need to know in the week that was rugby league, including our top stories of the week, a review of State of Origin in round 14, and an update on our tips. We'll then answer some questions from you guys, as well as some questions we've got for each other. And then we'll preview round 15 and make our picks before ending the night with a recap of Super League. So remember to send us comments and questions throughout the show, and we'll do our best to answer them. We may as well jump into the top stories of the week, Paul, because I'm sure you're up to speed on everything.
Oh, I'm all over everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, I should really send you show notes. It would help.
Yeah, it might have helped.
So first part, Paul, is Dragons. As always, I like to start off with something to have a bit of a giggle. But you've been watching us discuss the Dragons and the coaching dramas. So there's rumours that they're set to offer Dean Young the head coaching role, but Shane Flanagan has now confirmed that his management is in talks with the Dragons about him potentially joining the role. I was going to ask Richard what he thought. Excuse me, but what do you think? You've got Dean Young, a young guy with no first grade coaching experience. And you got Shane Flanagan, who is well known, but also has a bit of an asterisk. Excuse me, bit of an asterisk next to him due to being suspended from coaching due to some dramas. He's now allowed to coach topside again, but I think he's probably the better option on experience alone. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the moment they're in a dire situation. Let's be honest, bottom of the table. As we've talked about pre-show, they need they need someone with experience of rebuilding a club at the end of the day. But you don't want somebody with what's the word I'm looking for? With that asterisk next to his name around for a long time. It's if you get him in to try and just steady the ship and get heading in the right direction, and then get someone else in there, I think, who can. But you need someone who can build a culture, because at the end of the day, they really need the culture to be heading in the right direction for them to rebuild, because it's just a disaster at the moment. Simon says Nathan Brown would be good. The Dragons.
No, Nathan Brown's come out and said he doesn't want to coach anymore. I think the Warriors job kind of killed it for him. And Jacko mentioned that Flanagan with Young as assistant is likely for the Dragons. I think that's what they'll do. Kind of like what you said, Paul. Bring him in, get him to get in there, start things, then transition to Young. So,
Jacko, Simon Brown couldn't coach them. I think you mean Nathan Brown rather than Simon Brown, but dearie me.
No, he forgot an asterisk. He was meant to say, "Come on, Simon." Asterisk.
Oh,
Brown
I see.
couldn't coach.
Yes. Punctuation. You see, folks, punctuation's important. Learn your grammar at school.
Yeah, but we'll continue on. And so I said Brown's normally a good transitional coach. Yeah, he's good at. I think he's better as a recruiter. He seems to find a lot of talent. Like I know everyone's talking about how great Webster is. 100% agree, but a lot of those players that were signed for the Warriors this year were signed under Brown. So they were already like not all of them, but a lot. So he's good at identifying talent, but yeah, I still
bring him in as a scout then, and say, hey, right, you've got or a bit like the American setup where you've got your the front of house who do, or you're one guy whose job is the hiring and firing of the players, and then you're a head coach who just coaches. They don't have player decisions; they just have coaching decisions. So maybe that kind of maybe that's the kind of role that he might suit him, where he doesn't have to deal with the people or the press. He just deals with the squad building side of things.
Yeah, and like Jacko said, transition to white wooden spoon. I'd be happy if they get wooden spoon every year for years to come. So I'm very biased to the.
That's a personal decision of Brad. That is not the official position of New Zealand Sport Radio or the Standoff Show. We would like to.
I think it is. I think it is. And continuing on the Dragons before we move on, Ben Hunt is still apparently pondering requesting an early release. So all of this kind of coach talk, I think he's probably waiting on a coaching decision. But if he goes, it's a very hard battle for the Dragons to come back. He is head and shoulders above everyone else at that team. But yeah, what would you, putting your rugby union hat on, if you've got your best player deciding he wants to leave, your team's already at the bottom, what do you do?
I wouldn't put, it's not really a rugby union hat on, but on this kind of, on that side, look, they're not making the playoffs this year, right? Let's be blunt. So if he doesn't want to be around, doesn't be around next year, then look, I think if you want to offload the wage, the salary, to be honest with you, and just tank this year, and realize you can do that. You can do and build towards the future. If someone doesn't want to be there to be part of the building process, get them off the salary side of things. I would say.
Yeah, and Jacko's mentioned that Phil Gould's and Hunt's are big time for a move to the Dogs, which I think would be a great move for the Bulldogs. I feel like having Ben Hunt and Matt Burton in the house will probably change that team a lot, which does segue into my next bit of news, which was about the Bulldogs, because they're apparently interested in making a play on Daniel Saifiti, the prop from the Knights. So, Paul, what's your thoughts on Daniel Saifiti? Do you think he'd be a good mix for the Bulldogs?
I haven't got a clue. Let's be blunt. Come on. You really throw me under the bus with those sort of questions. When you're talking philosophical and structural club questions, I'm okay. But details is not my. I'm big sky. I'm big sky here, not details.
I'm just trying to make you feel involved. I think it'd be a good move. I know the Knights were rumored to be trying to get rid of some cap space, or make some cap space by getting rid of guys like him and Bradman Best, because they've put all their money into Kalen Ponga. So it'd be a good move, I guess. And I see Hammer. Well, good to see you here, Hammer. He said that the Bulldogs have given Jack Averillo and Alamotti permission to look for other clubs. So the Bulldogs are making room as well to try to get in some signings. I think Averillo and Alamotti have been playing pretty well for them, but they do have some good talent coming in, and Stephen Crichton and the like for the backs. So that would make sense. But yeah, we'll move on. This one is a bit more philosophical.
Before that, great to see Ruin Hammer here. Obviously, they've got another podcast show that's Brad and Richie got swan off to go on to. I've not been invited, but there we go. But in all seriousness, Mark, look, thoughts and condolences with you for your loss this week, and hope you're doing well, and thoughts with you from the podcasting community.
Definitely. Next bit of news, you can help with this one. Kalen Ponga has announced that he's withdrawn himself from State of Origin this year to focus on the Knights instead, and has claimed that he'll fight to win back his place in the squad next year. I feel like it's more of a "you can't fire me, I quit" situation, because I didn't see him getting selected anyway, especially with how Reece Walsh went at fullback for Queensland. What's your take on a player that wasn't selected saying he's not going to play?
There's a bit of throwing your toys out the pram, isn't there, at this point? Look, if he knows he's not going to get selected, then actually sticking around with the Knights, who are, I look, in a very, very tight league this year, which we talked about pre-show. They're only 1 point off the top 8, kind of. So maybe it is actually a good move if he wants to make finals footy. If he knows he's not going to play, but it's a bit like a player saying, "I'm not available for my national side," isn't it? It's if you're going to throw your toys out the pram like that, I think there's a good chance you're not going to get invited back on that one.
Yeah, well, I'll say it here officially now that I've ruled myself out for playing for the Kiwis. I know there was always a chance. There was always a slight chance, but I've just nip it in the butt right now. I'm going to focus on this show and my writing. So yeah, sorry guys. But yeah, speaking of Origin as well, the Maroons have been issued a fine of $30,000 for having 14 players on the field. They've got 5 business days to respond, and there hasn't been any news out of the camp as of yet. I think the 5 days finishes today or tomorrow, so I assume they're probably just going to pay it. It's not like it was a minor thing. There was an injury and they were bringing a player on to replace the injured player, but the injured player hadn't got off the field yet, type thing.
Yeah, I mean, was it 14 on 4,000? 14? Yeah,
30,000.
Sorry,
yeah.
30,000. But even so, I mean, in NRL money, that's peanuts. Just pay it, move on. It's going to cost you more in lawyers' fees to fight it.
Yeah, and I was going to put in the news, but I didn't in the end. I saw somewhere where they said the NRL could lose millions of dollars if Queensland win the next game, and then the final game of State of Origin is a dead rubber in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
They say like the millions they could lose for that situation, which, shit happens when you got a best of 3 series. It is what it is. Potentially that might be an argument for why you shouldn't have a game played out of state in the first round. So you at least have the first 2 rounds in either state, so it's still a competition. I don't know. It's very hard as a Kiwi that is interested in the State of Origin, but not passionate like the Aussies are.
Yeah, look, as you say, I think the neutral venue makes absolute sense for that final game. As you say, you both have home advantage, and then you have that neutral venue for the decider. Look, the NRL apparently know what they're doing with State of Origin, and let's be honest, it creates a lot of interest. A lot of people, they market it very well. Hey, if they lose a few million this year, well, hey, but just perhaps it might actually be a good thing in the fact that it actually makes them wake up and actually look at things rather than just go, hey, this is how we've done it before. Let's just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we'll move on to more. I've just had a message from Richard. He's done his job pretty quick and he's racing back to try to jump on. But you're the boss here. So if you want to let him in.
We'll see. We'll see whether we let me know. See how I'm doing.
Next bit of news was a bit interesting. The One NZ CEO, Jason Paris, who we talked about a few weeks ago, lit a fire under everybody with his comments about the referees. There's been talk that he's reached an agreement with the Referees Association, And actually, last week, I think it was just before the Warriors game, he issued a public apology for his comments regarding their officiating. And I basically said, I was wrong. They don't cheat. And what have you. What's your take on his backtrack? Is it just he's already said it, so he's already put it out there, and just saying sorry now?
He's reacted like a fan at the end of the day, and there are plenty of fans who accuse the referees of cheating, and he just didn't realise wasn't kind of aware of what his as kind of how famous he was and how much his position meant. He'll be more careful in the future. Yeah, a bit of a storm in a teacup. A fan.
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong, Paul. Well,
look, maybe there's some unconscious bias, but I can't believe that the referees are consciously doing it. But but yeah, look, he reacted like a fan. I think that's and he just forgot the fact that he has a prominent position. So yeah, storm in a teacup for me.
Yeah. Yeah, he in his apology, he also said that they don't have a bias, which is the part that I don't agree with, because we all have a bias. But you'll sit there arguing in circles with them about it. But we haven't seen anything yet by Kaikara France, the New Zealand UFC fighter, who's also the wrestling coach for the Warriors. He tweeted after his loss in the UFC, he asked who was worse, UFC officials or NRL ones. So we haven't heard anything about that yet.
Does he have an official position with the Warriors?
He does.
Then that might get him in trouble. Otherwise, you've got to say, look, he's not a sportsman. Yeah. He's just a fan, right?
Yeah, he put a smiley face emoji on it. So it was, that's okay. As long as you put an emoji on things, you can take them out of context. So it's fine.
I think he'll be I'm sure he doesn't get paid that much by the Warriors. So I think he'll be I think he'll get away with it as being kind of like a volunteer, and therefore he's not an official employee. Whereas he's not an official sponsor. Whereas the CEO, the official sponsor, is a bit different to another sports person, to be honest.
Yeah, and Kaikara France was robbed as well, so I can see his frustration. But next bit of news, with the news that Jason Riles will be joining the Storm in 2024, the Roosters have actually demoted him from his assistant coach role effective immediately and promoted Jake Friend and Boyd Cordner to more senior roles. I'm not a Roosters fan by any stretch of the imagination, but it feels like a childish move. But what do you think? Like, they've got a guy, Joseph Suoliti, who signed with Rugby Union, not next year, the year after. He's still playing for them, so it's not like he's not here next year. Let's move him out.
Yeah, but he's also not taking ideas to your opposition, is he? Look, if these are the actual long-term replacements for him, and that's and they're not hiring someone else to replace him, then yeah, make it now. Give them the responsibility, get them to learn while he's still there. Look, in the corporate world, you're probably on gardening leave all the time. So if it's what those guys are going to do in their job next year, then bring them through now if they're ready. Why not? Yeah.
Fair enough. We'll agree to disagree. I think the Roosters are just being childish.
They're always being childish, aren't they? I mean, just all you have to do is just look at their haircuts.
Yeah, exactly. And then next bit of news: Peter V'landys has confirmed the NRL wish to have a new team in the competition for the 2026 season. So in 3 years, and a Papua New Guinea team appears to be the favourite right now, with the Australian Rugby League Commission already in negotiations with the Papua New Guinea government. We talked about it when they talked about it ages ago, Paul, about what team, and it seemed like they were talking PNG or they were talking like a Pacific team. PNG seems to be getting the nod. How do you think that will go?
I mean, your big question is financially for PNG, isn't it? At the end of the day, can they actually get the finances, or is the NRL paying for them? Essentially, look, PNG have been one of the consistently there internationally. I think it's a good move to help support them and keep things going from a if you give a shit about international rugby. If you don't, then I don't see why the NRL are doing it. I don't see where the financial side of it is for a professional league going there. If you want to grow international rugby, yes. If it's a financial thing for NRL, why? There's no money there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I like the idea because I like to see the growth of Papua New Guinea.
Yeah,
I don't think you're not going to see any. Well, I don't think you're going to see many of the current NRL players if they're based in Papua New Guinea. They haven't said that yet. I assume they will be. But if they're based there, how many current NRL players are going to pack up and move to Papua New Guinea? I'm not sure. I've never been there myself, so I can't speak for that. But yeah, I don't know. There were those talks about having them based in Australia.
Well, then, I mean, how's it a Papua New Guinea team with based in Australia? It's a bit like One Pacific is a bit of a little bit of a mess in New Zealand at the moment. As to kind of, is it a Samoan Tongan team if it's based in South Auckland? Is it a Papua New Guinea team if it's based in Darwin, or wherever they're going to put it? Jacko says Aussie government will help fund a PNG team big time as they're concerned about Chinese influence up there. Maybe that's maybe if that's where the money's coming from, then fine. Cairns, sorry, is the Mikey. Thank you for that for the location. I think if you're I want to support Papua New Guinea from an international international league point of view. I'm just not sure. Yeah, if the money's going to come from the government, then the NRL are going to be more than happy to do it. But if they're having to do their own money, I don't see why they're doing it. They don't support Australian international rugby. Why are they supporting Papua New Guinea unless it's about trying to build up the supply line of talent? In fact, if they want to add 3 more teams, right? Maybe one of the places you get that talent from is if you set up pathways in Papua New Guinea. Perhaps there's enough talent in Papua New Guinea for 2 teams worth of players. In which case, maybe it's being used for that to bring players into other teams long term. Just some thoughts, anyway.
Yeah, so I'm sure we're going to hear more as it develops. But I thought it was an interesting thing to bring in here for you and Richard's amazing thoughts. But yeah, Richard ditched us, so he can wait till next week.
Exactly, and as Nicholas says in the live chat, I never knew that Richie was so handsome. Yeah, I know. I look a bit like Richie, the more handsome Richie. But thank you, Nicholas. But yeah, it's if you're going to have Papua New Guinea team, you have to put it in Papua New Guinea. Don't put it in Australia.
Yeah, and like a lot of people have said in the comments, though, the biggest issue with that is the security. It's not the safest place to play footy. And I think Mark Roberts has said in there, one of the Queensland Cup sides refused to actually go there and play because there is a Papua New Guinea team in the Queensland Cup, I believe. But yeah, one of the teams refused to actually go over and play.
Yeah, listen, league players don't have a good reputation of they could get themselves in trouble. Let's be blunt. Up there.
Yes, there's a player that's currently in that situation, which I didn't mention in the news. Dylan Brown's in a bit of strife. I'm going to wait till we've actually got some more info on that before we talk about it. But I think today they've officially announced he's been stood down from the NRL while his criminal investigation develops, let's say.
There we go. This is why Brad saves me from getting sued as a channel by not delving into stuff that's still legally murky.
Yeah. So once the waters or the smoke's cleared there, we'll talk about it. But we'll move on now into signings. Only really 2 signings and a little bit of an update. So Hull KR from the Super League have announced the signing of Olivia Gildart. I don't know if that's how you say his name properly, on a 3-year deal from next season. I personally had a lot of hopes that he would make an impact in the NRL. I actually wanted him to sign with the Warriors when there were rumors he was coming down to the Southern Hemisphere, but he just never really took off when he got here. He was with the Tigers. I think he went to the Roosters for a little bit last year, and he's with the Dolphins now. He's just not really getting into first grade. So he'll go back to Super League where he was a star, and go again. And can't really ask your input on him because I've barely seen him play in the NRL. But there's a lot of Super League players come down to the NRL and don't really make it. There are quite a few. There are quite a few that do, mainly forwards. For some reason, the backs don't seem to cut the mustard. The last two backs I'd say that have done okay from Super League would be Dominic Young, who's doing really well, and George Williams, who was with the Raiders, and then he got homesick and went back. But a lot of the wingers and the likes that come down make it a year or two and then go home. A lot of the forwards, like the front rowers, the Burgess brothers and all that, they seem to come down and make a name for themselves.
Yeah. Maybe it's a size thing, is that in the forwards, you just bash it up, right? And we've got big boys up north, whereas our quicker boys are perhaps not the same size as some of the some of the Pacific Island stock that we get down here, and that who do so well in rugby union when they travel up north. Maybe that's part of it as to why the forwards survive and the backs don't crack it. But thank you, Nicholas, for saying that I'm absolutely nailing it. Apparently, fantastic.
Yeah, you know about as much as league as the rest of us, Paul. It's fine. We all wing it. We all wing it on here. Next bit, the Broncos have confirmed the signing of Rooster Fletcher Baker on a 2-year deal, which I think is a great signing for him to go there, and the Broncos will welcome him with open arms. And continuing with the Roosters talk, Matt Lodge, it's basically been announced that he will not be at the Roosters next year. I know we said last week that there wasn't any room for him, but we said they'll always find a way. Same as there was no room for Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. But yeah, he's out and he's looking for a new club. My question to Richie / Paul was, do you see him joining his family at the Dolphins? Obviously, his father-in-law is their recruitment manager. His brother-in-law is their halfback. He joined the Warriors when they were both here. The biggest thing is he seems to want a lot of money, and no one's really interested once the Warriors stop paying his salary, which is at the end of this year.
I think this whole nepotism thing, you'd be a bit careful because maybe he got given a contract he shouldn't have done when he was here on that one. I doubt he'll get that. He'll get the money, and he'll have to take a lower offer somewhere. I guess I don't know whether it'll be the Dolphins. Who knows what it'll be.
Yeah, I have no idea where he'll go. He is a talented player when he wants to be, so I'm sure any team could make the most of him if he went there. But yeah, I feel like the Dolphins will get him just because
maybe it just comes down to one of these things of who knows him well enough to actually how to motivate him. At the end of the day, maybe the way to motivate him is to put him on a game by game contract that's nice and big. That if he shows up, he gets paid. If he doesn't, then, or maybe I don't know what the way is as to how you do, but there must be some way of figuring out what are his triggers, what buttons do you need to press. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure we'll get more news as that develops, but we'll move on to injuries because we've got quite a few. Paul, as always, the week after Origin,
a few suspensions, I think. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, as usual, the week after Origin, there's usually a few injuries with a lot of players backing up. But the biggest one that sent the NRL into a meltdown was Panther Nathan Cleary. He injured his hamstring and is going to be out for roughly 6 weeks, which means he's gone for Origin. And it's, a big loss for New South Wales, I guess you could say. And the Panthers, they generally seem to do okay when he's not there. It's just they're a very good team. So when they lose a star or two, they seem to be able to combine together. But Super League were kind of putting all their chips on him. It's going to be interesting what happens in the next 6 weeks to both New South Wales and the Panthers. But yeah, what's your take on a player of that caliber just disappearing now?
I mean, two things. One is, do you want to be playing something as physical as Origin mid-season like this and taking out your stars for serious chunks of the season? That to me seems like it is a dangerous thing to do. Should it be so maybe look at where does Origin sit in the season? Is that right? But look, I think the Panthers are top of the table. I think they'll ride it out, and they'll just be like, yeah, just try and make sure he doesn't come back too quickly, because they're going to need him finals time.
Yeah, and as Jacko said, Cleary's replacement at the Panthers, Jack Cogger, is a very good player. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's very similar to the Sean O'Sullivan player that they used to have, where I don't know if I'd put my money on him to take me through the whole season, but when something happens, you need to bring him in to fill in. He can do that job. So I think, it's not like you're going and immediately putting money on every team that plays the Panthers in the next 6 weeks because they're going to go on a 6-game losing streak. I don't think that's going to happen.
I know what a great position to have, right? You're on decent wages. All these guys are, but you only have to play half the time when Cleary's injured, and you're going to come away as a 4 or 5 time champion at the end of it with all the silverware. I know it's a great position to be in.
It wouldn't be bad, yeah. I'll take it up. But next one, the Rabbitohs, we've got 3. So Jai Arrow hurt his ankle and will miss the next few weeks. Cam Murray injured his groin, and Latrell Mitchell's calf injury. You're going to see them miss this week. But they'll be right for the next one. Jai Arrow, I think his injury is going to make him miss the next Origin as well. Tom Gilbert from the Dolphins is out for the rest of the season with a shoulder injury that he got in Origin.
I was going to say, from a Rabbitohs point of view, it's good that they've got the points in the bank already in the games and some buys coming up. If they're some players.
And Brad Parker from the Sea Eagles is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured elbow. And then our traditional segment in this now is the 11-day stand-downs. We've got Jack DeBellin from the Dragons, Justin Olam from the Storm, and Rocco Berry from the Warriors, all with their 11-day stand-downs. Reed Marnie from the Bulldogs also failed his HIA, but he has been named this week. So I'm not sure what's happening there. I thought he was going to have 11-day stand down too, but seems to be fine. So yeah, interesting. Anything else you want to add to the injuries, Paul?
Get well soon.
Yeah. Naughty boy corner. So as Paul alluded to earlier, there were a few suspensions this week. Joseph Suoliti is going to miss 3 weeks for a grade 2 dangerous contact. He, I don't know if you're aware, Paul, he has a habit of lifting his knees when he runs into contact. He's been warned about it previously. He did it again this week, and they've punished him now. I feel like he was kind of a bit protected before when he was, the next superstar of the game to be. But now that he's going to Union, I think they're going to treat him like everyone else. So if he keeps doing stupid things, they'll punish him for it. And then Jared Wallace from the Dolphins is going to miss 3 weeks for a grade 2 shoulder charge, which we just talked earlier about Jason Paris and his comments on the refereeing. The grade 2 shoulder charge that the officials in bunker said was okay during the game against the Warriors, but he's been seen that it was bad enough for 3 weeks. And his partner, Anthony Milford from the Dolphins, is also missing 3 weeks for a grade 2 dangerous contact that saw him sin-binned in the Warriors game. And then Chris Randall from the Titans has got a 1-week ban for a grade 2 dangerous contact. And Queensland woman winger Julia Robinson got a 1-man batch for ban for a grade 2 dangerous contact, which was pretty bad. She was running, Paul, and she put her arm out to the defender and hit her with her forearm in the throat, which sent her to it was Isabel Kelly, sent her to the hospital. So not too good, but yeah, that's all the naughty boys and girl for our corner. Anything you want to add to any of that?
No. I'm just trying to download a bandaged head that Mark was suggesting, but I'm too slow. Sorry, Mark. Next week.
Next week. So we'll go into the game reviews, which is going to be interesting since you weren't. I don't think you watched any, or did you watch some?
No, I don't think I watched any this weekend. So
That's all good.
I'll be quiet during this bit. Maybe go throw some wood in the fire.
Yeah. So while Paul leaves me on my own here, thankfully I've got some of Richard's notes here, so I can go off his notes. But first game was Wednesday night, Queensland defeating New South Wales 26-18. I'll have to do Richard's job of the score rundown. So Queensland 5-3. The Hammer got 2, Selwyn Cobbo got 2, and Cameron Munster got 1. Valentine Holmes was 3 from 5 at the kicking tee. Then for New South Wales, Liam Martin, Api Coruscant, and Stephen Crichton all would tries. And Nathan Cleary 3 from 3 at the kicking tee. And then obviously 1 sin bin from Thomas Flegler at the 68th minute. My thoughts on Queensland. I thought it was a strong effort from Queensland. I, to be honest, thought their goose was cooked when Flegler was sent to the bin. But they've just got so much firepower, and they scored 2 tries while a man down, which kind of proved it. Plus, seeing Lindsay Collins out-jump James Tedesco for a kick filled my prop heart with pride. So if you're not aware, Paul, Lindsay Collins is a front rower. James Tedesco is supposedly the greatest fullback in the NRL, if not the world. And a prop out-jumped them for a bomb, basically, and led to the last try of the match.
Dear me. It's the guys can be dropped from the front row club. The prop. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that. That's just not disgusting.
So I feel like I say it every week, both on here and in my normal life. Props to the most talented players there are. It just goes without saying.
And the most intelligent, and also the most the funniest as well. Obviously,
generally the best looking too.
I'm sure Richie would totally agree with that. So the front rowers are especially props are the best looking players in the league.
I assume that's what you're talking about. I just came in late, but yeah.
Yeah, about time you showed up. 37 minutes late.
Bloody
docking your pay. So to catch you up, I don't know if you had the show notes. I've just started the match review talking about the first State of Origin game.
Great. Yeah.
So I've read out the scores and I've done my points on Queensland. So what was your thoughts on Queensland?
I timed this completely wrong. I was meant to come back after we'd talked about Origin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and Paul were just talking a lot during the news segment to give you time.
You were delaying it, so I had to talk about it. All right, I'll start with Queensland. They were very good. They performed with a lot of heart, I thought. Having players go off injured, moving people like Ben Hunt out into the centres, Flegler sent to the bin. Controversially, didn't think that was a sin bin, but against all odds, they stepped up another gear late in the game. Lindsay Collins jumping over Tedesco, Munster stepping up late. So I hate to say it, but you got to give them credit. They were very good when it counted.
Yeah, and your thoughts on that woeful New South Wales outfit?
Well, you used the right word there. I don't think they were woeful throughout the whole game. I thought they were decent in parts, but they definitely weren't clinical. They had a lot of ball and didn't finish all their chances. And they were hindered by some below par performances from some of their big guns like Tedesco, Cleary, Turbo, all sort of below what we've seen from them in the past. So,
yeah, mine's kind of the same. I felt like it looked like at times they weren't on the same page, and they were let down by their leaders, like you said. They got the lead, and I thought, as I said already with Queensland, I thought Queensland were done. But instead of staying calm and controlling the match, they panicked, and that's when they let Queensland have space to let guys like the Hammer run. Fittler's coaching career is on the line. I already said that he was panicking with his selections, and I think he needs to make a lot of changes now. Some of them are going to be forced, obviously, with the Nathan Cleary situation, but I think there's a lot of players there that probably, their time's done, maybe. I know there's been a lot of talk about James Tedesco. It's his time done, and a lot of people in the NRL and the professional media circuits, like he's so good, on history. And you see what happened in the Roosters game this week afterwards. Do you persevere with him, or do you go to someone else? I don't know. It depends which Tedesco shows up, I think. But I think Fittler won't have to make these decisions much longer. I think, as Mikey said, in 2 more games will most likely be his last in charge.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it either. I've seen a lot of weird selections, and I think he's overdone his dash. It's time for some fresh blood. With the players New South Wales have got, they should be doing better than what they are.
Yeah. And who was your player that stood out?
Somebody who, before the game, I didn't question his spot. Yeah, Paul's given a little spoiler there. I didn't question his spot, but I thought dropping Dane Gagai for this guy, when Dane Gagai's done so much in the Origin arena, but Billy Slater shows he knows best, because the hammer, Tabuai Fido, I thought he was outstanding. Couple of really nice tries, one to wrestle the lead back, and he just completely gassed down that touchline. I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was great, and that kind of goes back to my Fittler argument about the James Tedesco and things like that. Like James Tedesco's in that Gagai situation where Tedesco's done so much, so you keep it in loyalty. Where Billy was like, screw loyalty, I want to win. I want the best players that will do the job, and that's what he did, and it worked in his favor. It may have blown up in his face, and everyone would be like, "You should have picked Gagai," but it didn't. So yeah, well done. I didn't go with Hammer.
Yeah.
I went with Reece Walsh. That he was always the question mark on how would he go in that element, and I thought he did really well. I know there's been a lot of barbs going his way after the game. Apparently he, pulled Jerome Luai's hair or something, and was a bit grubby. It is what it is.
It is what it is. What we've seen Luai stomp on heads and do all sorts of grubby things. So it's the grub getting grubbed. I'm not. I thought it was fun.
If it was any other player complaining, I'd probably take more on board. But Jerome Luai, I kind of feel like he deserves everything he gets. Other than that, I thought Walsh didn't look nervous about the big occasion. He went out and did his job, and then he backed up a few days later for the Broncos. So we talked about it in the news, and you missed it, about Kalen Ponga announcing that he's not playing Origin this year.
Yeah,
with the way Reece played, I didn't see Ponga getting picked over him anyway. So fantastic effort. But we'll move on to the next game, which was Queensland yet again defeating New South Wales, this time in the women's comp, 18-10.
Boo. Yes, it was 18-10. 4 tries to 2. Queensland's tries: Julia Robinson times 2, Tasman Gray and Emily Bass were the try scorers. Jessica Sturgis and Jamie Chapman were the 2 try scorers for New South Wales. Yeah, Queensland did the double, Brad.
Mm-hmm. I thought this was a clunky game for both sides. They had 30 errors combined, which is perhaps another reason why the NRLW comp should probably start before they play Origin. I know a lot of them are playing club footy, but it's not the same level. So it really is basically the first game they're actually playing of the year. So it's always going to be a bit rough. But besides that, I thought Queensland were tough, and they seemed to enjoy getting down in the trenches and just made the most of their opportunities. But what was your take on Queensland?
Yeah, I just thought it was a case of them icing more chances in a game that was pretty scrappy, a lot of errors. And as you mentioned, Brad, playing the Origin game before the start of the NRLW, I think maybe contributed to the players looking really rusty here.
Yeah, and your thoughts on New South Wales?
Yeah, not polished at all. They definitely missed the captain, Isabel Kelly, when she went off with a pretty nasty elbow to the throat and she had to go to hospital. But yeah, they were just the next step down from Queensland. I thought both sides were clunky, but New South Wales in particular looked really, really flat.
Yeah, and my take on New South Wales, it's an interesting dynamic, Richie. I support Queensland, but in the women's game, I support New South Wales because of my girl Millie. But yeah, for them losing Isabel Kelly, like you said, didn't help. I thought Millie Boyle and Kennedy Cherrington at big games. Not biased by any means. About my girl Millie. But I think they have more of a chance of winning the next match in comparison to their male counterparts.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And your player that stood out?
Yeah, it's tough in a game which was quite stop-start, but we're probably going the same way here. Julia Robinson on the wing. Six tackle breaks, 137 meters, 2 tries. She was one that didn't look flat for sure.
Yeah, and you could say she helped her team win by taking out Isabel Kelly as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know, I picked her as well. She seemed just the most dangerous out there. And yeah, like Jacko, women's origin was disappointing. Too many basic errors. Yeah, it'd be like I feel like if the very first game of the year was State of Origin 1 for the men, you know, none of the players really in their groove yet. It's going to look bad. So
last year's one was definitely a lot better, and I think because it was played after some NRLW game after the season. So
because they had those 2 seasons last year.
It was definitely a lot better last year.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that we see a better one in the next one. I still think it needs to be a 3-game series because it's only 2. So for New South Wales to take it out, they have to win by
more than 8.
More than 8 in the next one to take it out. So if they win by 2, they still lose.
Yeah.
Where I think it should be 3, and it should be like even the curtain raiser for the men's game on those Wednesdays. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, we'll move on to round 14 now, Richie.
Yes.
First game on Friday night, Raiders defeating the Tigers 20-19.
Yeah, and this probably would have been a roller coaster if you were Simon. Was 3 tries apiece for the Raiders. Jamal Fogarty grabbed 2. Jordan Rapana grabbed the other. 3 tries as well for the Tigers. Jareem Bula, John Bateman, and Brendan Wakeham were the 3 try scorers. Field goal for Luke Brooks and a penalty goal for Jamal Fogarty.
Yeah, so I thought, despite the scoreline, I thought the Raiders controlled the match for the most part, with only the sin binning of Starling leading the Tigers back into the contest. Strong efforts from Joe Tapine and Papali'i, and Rapana also scored his 100th try in the NRL. They'll be concerned with their lackluster second halves still. That it's still an issue with them, especially when coming up against the Warriors this week, who seem to be the opposite, where that like final 20 of the game, they really seem to click into gear. But what's your take on the Raiders?
Yeah, after going up 18-0, I thought it was going to be an easy night out, but turned out it was anything but. Like you say, the Tom Starling sin bin had a massive effect because the minute after that, the Tigers got the first of their 3, and all within the space of a couple minutes, they'd storm back into the game. Luckily
it was like
enough,
3 tries in 5 minutes.
It was 68th minute, 70th minute, 72nd. So it's all of a sudden they came back. Luckily enough for the Raiders, Fogarty was able to seal the win with a late penalty goal.
Yeah, and your take on the Tigers?
I thought it was a really good effort to storm back into contention from 18-0 down. Definitely the sin bin helped, but you got to take advantage of that. I just like the attitude shift within the Tigers. That's there seems to have been an attitude shift, and they're looking a completely different team to the one we were watching play in the first few rounds.
Yeah, I kind of have the same. They're just so much better than they were a month ago. They're back to playing with heart, which I feel like I was saying a lot last year and the year before, where they're not getting the wins, but they're having a dig and fighting every team. And it's great to see. If they could reduce their errors and started better, then this could have been a different result. I think they could have got the win here. But yeah, waiting until the final 20 minutes to play football is a tough way to go around getting wins. But your player to stand out.
I'm copying you again, man. Fogarty. Hard to argue with Fogarty. Couple of tries, 3 from 3 conversions, and the game-winning penalty goal. So, yeah, he was good.
Yeah, I went with him too. He was just really good, and he was clutch when they needed him to be. So, full credit to him there. And so we'll move on to the game we always love talking about. First game on Saturday, the Warriors defeating the Dolphins 30-8.
Yeah, that sounds very sweet. Was 5 tries to 2, a double to Sean Johnson, a double to Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, and a first try for the Warriors for Luke Metcalf. 2 tries to the Dolphins, Tessie New and Jermaine Asako.
Yeah, so slow start for the Warriors here, but they were doing most of the things right, even though they weren't scoring points. Their forwards controlled the middle, led by Adam Fanua-Blake and Mitch Barnett, who was amazing in his first game back in 12 weeks from his neck injury, and he came out and had an absolute blinder. Then, some great plays from Sean Johnson got them on the board, and then they just got into a roll. With injured players starting to return, I'm confident the Warriors are going to go on a bit of a run. But what was your take on the Warriors game?
Yeah, I was really happy to get a dominant win. I was a bit concerned, seeing a few close calls end up being no tries, a little bit of deja vu from the week before.
Yeah.
But I felt the boys didn't panic. They were patient, kept grinding, and pretty much ground the Dolphins into the ground until points came. I thought there were some great shifts out there from the forwards, AFB, Mitch Barnett, and SJ at his very, very best off the back of that. So yeah, it was really good to see.
You have something to say, Paul?
Well, this one game I actually saw some of. I even had a chat about it on live chat. 6-4 at half time. Jeez. To then blow out to 30-8.
Warriors are a back 9 team, which is the exact opposite of how they've always been.
That yellow card to Milford, was that the key turning point, do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it allowed the door to open a bit, and then Dallin's that final try from Dallin was against play intercept, which I think got try of the week as well. But I think it helped.
24-4, that was already gone, right? That was just icing on the cake, that one.
Yeah.
That because the Dolphins are pushing it, those opportunities will come. But it really was Johnson and Metcalf, 2 tries in 2 minutes. That was what really kind of spun it round. And that was I switched over and then caught that first bit of the second half. You told me off for getting too positive, Brad. And it suddenly just started to flow. That yellow card, I think, was a big thing. And then, as you say, that blew the door open. And
that was dumb. That was dumb as well from Milford.
Yeah.
That was not smart.
And I didn't want you to be too positive because I've been in a long-term relationship with the Warriors, and it's been very abusive at times. So every time I think that they've turned a corner and they're going to, treat me better, there's still that little bit in the back of my head going that they're going to just hurt me again. So
basically, folks, this shows actually Brad's therapy each week to keep him on the straight and narrow.
Yeah. But your thoughts on the Dolphins, Rich?
Yeah, I think their depth was, the depth test for them finally proved too much this week. They've done so well up until now, dealing with players being out. Jeremy Marshall-King being ruled out was the final straw, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So very much down on troops. Also, their first road trip to NZ. I don't feel like this is a true reflection of where they are as a team. It's just it all sort of culminated and ended up the way it did.
Yeah, I got the same. They struggled to get into this match, missing serious firepower. It was an uphill battle. Still a tough team, but this is the type of performance we did expect when their depth was tested. I think they would have been a lot harder to beat if Jeremy Marshall King was there, but if they had Hammer out there as well, I think that it would have been a real tough battle for the Warriors. But thankfully, that wasn't the case, and you're going to need play who's in front of you. So
yeah, exactly.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But yeah, it's not like the end of the Dolphins by any stretch of the imagination. But who was your player that stood out? I feel like you shouldn't have to ask.
Yeah, there could only be one this week. Shawnee, SJ7. It's so good to watch him playing like this, mate. I don't know if you're still there, Rue, but yeah, I'm so glad your prediction pre-season about Sean was off the mark, because if he goes all the way this year playing like this way and ends up getting Warriors Player of the Year and playing some finals footy, that would be such a good result. And I think he's on track at the moment, the way he's going.
I think so. I picked him as well. It was amazing. And like those 2 tries he got where, everyone said vintage, it was like the old days. And I was still a bit critical on some things. I thought some of his kicks were a bit off, but I thought he was great.
Listen to him.
I'm a front rower, mate.
Critiquing the playmaker.
I know a thing or two about kicking, mate. And I saw a comment from someone earlier about Curran. I just want to give a special shout out to him as well. He got put out into centres. After Rocco Berry got knocked out by that shoulder charge. That wasn't a shoulder charge until after the match. Thought he was great out there. He did really well. And Paul's keeping our time.
Sorry, Paul.
It's Richard's fault. He was here. Well, it's technically Paul's fault. Paul was conducting the start of the show and was just jibber jabbering and waffling.
I've only just got here. I feel like you guys dragged it out.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the next game. Rabbitohs defeating the Titans 46-28.
Yep, this is going to be busy reading these try scorers. Keon Kalormatangi, Alex Johnston grabbed 3, Campbell Graham, Cody Walker, Richie Kenner, and Hame Sele were the try scorers for the Rabbits. 5 try scorers for the Titans. Isaac Fatsul Malawi, not Tino. And then Tino grabbed 1 as well. Chris Randall, Khan Pereira, and Jojo Fafita were the try scorers for the Titans.
See, this is why I'm happy that you came back in time so I don't butcher everybody's names like I do. There's a lot of hard names in that lineup.
Yeah, there is.
So a bit like the Warriors game, the Rabbits started slowly but then just ran away with it in the second half. No player really let them down, I think, and their spine were great at creating scoring chances for them. Just a real solid effort from the Rabbits. What was your take on the Rabbits?
It took a while for them to click, and they've had a clunky few weeks, but yeah, once they did click, it was a bit of a landslide. And once they do click, they're a pleasure to watch. So nice to see them hit a bit of point scoring form again.
Yeah, and I see I've got some of your show notes here, so I know you've got a big monologue about the Titans. So what was your thought on the Titans?
I feel like you could just repeat what you say about them most weeks. Titans start well, blow the lead, and lose the second half in a big way. Need I say more?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll go into it a bit. We say it every week though, but yeah, the Titans know how to score. They just don't know how to defend. And until they learn to defend, they're always going to be at risk of these blowouts. Not sure how you fix it, but until they do, you can't bet on them with much confidence. And your player to stand out?
AJ, Alex Johnston. 3 tries he just seems to have a knack of getting multiples as well. I think when he scores, he scores in 2s and 3s a lot of the time. I think he's now second only to Ken Irvine for scoring multiple times in a game. I think it's something like 49 times he's gone more than one try in a game. He has a lot of help inside him. I know you look at Cody Walker and his try assist stats over the past few years have been bananas. So AJ does benefit a little bit from that, but geez, he's a good finisher.
That's what you pay them for, right? To finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went with him as well. I believe, I don't have the official stats here, but I believe that hat trick got him to 4th on the all-time scorers list as well.
Yeah, past Morris. Didn't he pass Morris? Or?
I think so. So, if he keeps scoring in bunches like he is, he's going to keep climbing. So
his strike rate's crazy.
Yeah. So, fantastic effort from him. Well, we'll move to the last game on Saturday. Broncos defeating the Sharks 20-12. I believe.
Who took this one, Brad?
I believe
I did.
You're the only one. You're the only one out of the 3 of us that picked this game.
If anyone cares to watch back last week, I did give Brad a warning. The Broncos like beating the Sharks. He didn't want to heed that warning though.
Yeah. Wish I did.
Anyways, I'll stop rubbing it in. It was 4 tries to 2. Katoni Staggs, Ezra Mam, Jesse Arthurs, Herbie Farnworth. 2 tries scorers for the Sharks, Siosifa Talakai and William Kennedy.
Yeah, the Broncos look good. They look good on attack, but their defense was what stood out to me. The Sharks are known for their lethal attack, but Brisbane kept them relatively quiet. Still haven't had a bye yet. So you assume they're going to remain a top 4 side this season, because I think we'll see it on the ladder in a little bit, but I think they're second on the ladder to the Panthers, who have already had 2 byes. So the fact that the Broncos have 6 points just waiting to go keeps them in good stead. But you got something to say, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been taking the piss out of the Broncos, saying, look, they've not had to travel out of Brisbane, right?
Yeah.
Their away form is 7 wins and 1 loss.
But some of those away games are yeah.
Okay, sure.
Some of their away games are at home.
Against the Dolphins, it's at home. I get that. And
Magic Round. Magic Round was away.
But still, only 1 loss away from home. They're sort of 5-1 record on the road, which is that's impressive after what let's say. Yes, it was actually their home record is 3-3 or 5-3 if you include the Magic Round and Dolphins. They're actually worse at home than they are away, and yet we've been taking the piss out of them for not having to travel. So
when you're playing at home more than you're playing away, your record at home is probably going to be worse because there's more chances to lose there. But we don't have you to try to bring accuracy and stuff to this.
And reality. Who the hell needs that?
We don't need facts.
No.
But your thoughts on the Broncos before Paul derailed us with
I like to throw shade at the Broncos, Paul. I do, but I'm gonna pay them their dues here. I think they did a great job. As you said, Brad, their defense was superb. To hold a team like the Sharks, who have really good attack, to only 12. I'm becoming more convinced by the week that we're watching a team that'll compete very deep into the competition this year.
They'll get knocked out of the finals by the Warriors.
I'd love that.
Reece Walsh will have his nightmare in his first game against the Warriors. I don't know if we play the Broncos again.
I don't think we do.
So we'll play them in the finals. His first game against his former club, and you have a shocker. Right. We'll write it down now. We've got it there. But your take on the Sharks?
Just a very flat showing, in my opinion, from the Sharks. They had plenty of ball. They had a lot of ball, actually, but they just made too many forced and unforced errors to be competitive against one of the top teams this year.
Yeah, I've got kind of the same. They won most of the stats in this game, but they let themselves down with their respect for the ball. They had 15 errors. And their discipline, they were penalised all over the show as well. But the positive is those are easy things to fix. So if they fix those things, it's going to be it's going to turn them back into a tough side to defeat. But it's not like they played poorly against the Dragons or something. It is, top of the table Broncos type thing. So not too bad, but your player to stand out?
Yeah, I've put Walsh. I'm going to stop being salty about him being gone now. I feel like we're playing well enough and Chance is playing well enough that I can put the hate aside and just enjoy what I'm watching because, he's playing really well and he was really good here, backing up from Origin as well.
Yeah, so I've picked Walsh twice this week. I picked him in the Origin game and I picked him in this game as well. I thought he backed up really well. He had 3 line break assists, a try assist, all while backing up from Origin. That is a hard thing to do sometimes in your first time as a young player. But I'm not as salty as you. I still think there's going to be time when he falls apart like he did for the Warriors. I've been saying it. I'm still waiting for it to happen, but it's got to happen at some point. Now I've already proclaimed it'll be in the finals. So we'll see what happens. We'll move on to the next game. The Roosters defeating the Bulldogs 25-24.
Yeah, 4 tries apiece. James Tedesco grabbing 2, Junior Ponga and Joseph Suali'i grabbed the 4 tries for the Roosters, 4 try scores for the Bulldogs as well. Tavita Pangai Jr., Reid Marnie, and 2 for Josh Adokar. It was just a field goal to Luke Keary, which separated the 2 teams.
Yeah, so Roosters still very unconvincing this season for me. They got the win here, so full credit to them for that. But man, it was ugly. They're relying on some individual brilliance to get the job done. A lot of work to do if they want to be a premiership threat. Your thoughts on the Roosters?
I thought Tedesco had a really good bounce-back game from his poor showing on Wednesday night. That was probably one of the only positives I could find from them. I think defensively they were getting burned, in particular on their right edge against the Fox. They don't look anything like I thought they would at the start of the season.
I don't think they look like what any of us thought, to be honest. And like Paul's just mentioned, we talked about this before the show. The Roosters have the 3rd worst points difference. Only the Dragons and Bulldogs are worse, which is crazy. When you would never anticipate that with the Roosters. But your take on the Bulldogs?
I thought it was a gutsy effort from the Dogs. A couple of lovely long-range efforts involving Adokar. I'm pretty confident this club will turn a corner when they start getting more luck in the injury department.
Yeah, I thought it was a good effort from the Bulldogs. They've struggled this season. Big performance from Adokar, as you said. And I thought TPJ, Tavita Pangai Jr., played well in his backup as well, because I feel like he kind of may have already got a shoulder tap saying he's one and done with Origin. So he really wanted to make it look like he could go back there. They're still a work in progress team, though. I still expect big things out of them, but I never earmarked this year as the year we'd see it all click. I think next year after is when they're going to be a force in the NRL. But they're still going to nab some more wins this year for sure.
Yeah.
Your player to watch?
Pick someone out of the losing team. I just really liked watching Adokar this game. He's just scored 2 tries, which are very Adokar-esque tries, kind of tries that only he scores. And he set up a nice one for Reid Marnie as well, with a searing break down the touchline. I thought he was on fire. Yeah,
and I went with James Tedesco. It was a game he needed to play well in, because with everyone, myself included, saying get him out of that New South Wales team, he's done. He really needed to show he could still do something. If that's going to transition into Origin again, I'm not sure. But I thought it was a good showing from him. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't like complimenting him that much. We'll move into the next game. The game that the show was based on. The Cowboys defeating the Storm 45-20.
Yeah, crazy result. 8 tries to 3. Simi Velame grabbing 3. Valentine Holmes, Murray Taolangi grabbing 2. Jeremiah Nano grabbed 1. And the Chad Townsend grabbed 1 towards the end. 3 tries for the Storm, Xavier Coates, Justin Olam, Nick Meaney.
Yeah, great game for the Cowboys. Amazing attacking display with some mammoth defensive displays as well. I still can't figure them out. They've been so poor this season, but every few weeks they perform like this and make me wonder if they're going to go back to that 2022 form. We have to wait to see if this is a return to form or an outlier again, but thoroughly impressed by their effort. What's your take on the Cowboys?
Hey, Caden, did I look better half an hour ago because it was Paul in my place, or?
I think that's what he's alluding to, yes.
Yeah. Yep, that's a fair enough comment too. I don't know what to say about the Cowboys. Capable of losing by 66 to the Tigers, now capable of putting 45 on the Storm. They were outstanding. I'm sure they'll continue to ruin my weekly tips this year.
Only game you got wrong this week.
Yeah.
And your thoughts on the Storm?
The Storm conceding 40-plus points is just pretty much unheard of. I think we're definitely seeing signs of this being quite a rebuild year for the Storm. I mean, they've been good in some games, and then you get games. Well, we haven't seen one as bad as this one, but, we've seen some very unstorm-like performances this year. Yeah,
which is kind of what I've got. It was very unstorm-like. They just weren't allowed to click into gear. They made too many errors, made too many poor defensive reads, and were just very poor. It's poor, which we don't say about them a lot. So, interesting times in Melbourne. Your player that stood out?
I think I'm going to copy you again. We keep going the same. Val Holmes, another one who's backed up from Origin and did so very, very well. I was close to going Simi Velame for the hat trick, but I thought Valentine was pretty hot.
No, I think if Valentine didn't play this game, I don't think the Cowboys win.
Yeah.
He got brought in from Origin, and he was stellar. I picked him as well. Great player and great effort. So we'll move into the last game as we near an hour and a half. Panthers defeating the Dragons 26-18.
Yeah, I was cheering the Dragons on. I really wanted to wind up Brad if the Dragons beat the Panthers, but not to be. 4 tries to 3. Brian To'o grabbed 2. Sunia Turuva grabbed 1. Moses Leota grabbed the 4th try for the Panthers. 3 tries for the Dragons. Ravalawa grabbing 2. Zach Lomax grabbing the other.
Panthers look set to run away with this match, but the loss of Cleary took some sting out of the attack. I think the team still stood up in his absence and made the best of it. Still too good for the Dragons, but maybe a different story in the next 6 weeks. I know I said about his injury that the Panthers are good enough to survive without him, but there's some tough matches coming up that, it will be interesting to see what happens. But what was your take on the Panthers?
Losing Cleary early didn't help, but even playing well below their best, they usually find a way to win. They did so here. It's a sign of a class side.
And your thought on the Dragons?
I actually thought it was a pretty decent effort from the Dragons against the 2-time premiers. They looked dangerous in patches. Could have gone even closer if not for Tyrell Sloan try being rubbed out due to obstruction late in the game. Or was it your boy Murdoch Masilla and stood in the line? I think it was. And
he's still helping me out.
They look dangerous, but they've lost so many of these close games this year.
They do. Putting all my bias aside, they do look to be improving slightly every week, but schoolboy errors. As say, they're a mess of a team, mess of an organization, but at least they're not giving up. I guess glass half full approach.
Yeah.
who was your player to stand out?
I should have, Paul. I should have picked someone from the Dragons. I went To'o. I've really liked a lot of these guys who've backed up from Origin this week, the ones that didn't get injured. I thought To'o was probably one of New South Wales' best on Wednesday. He ran for a ton of metres and looked dangerous the whole game, and he backed up really well as well. Picked up a couple of meat pies, so liked what I saw from him.
Yeah, I went with Isaiah Yao. I thought he was very busy for the Panthers. When they lost Cleary, he kind of helped fill a bit of that gap in the middle, and thought it was a great effort from him. But
Definitely.
that was the round. So I don't know what one Paul has first, if he has the ladder or the tips. It's the ladder. I can't remember who was top 8 and bottom 8. So you can be top 8, mate.
Yep, sure. Penrith remain first. Brisbane have gone up to second. Rabbitohs have gone up to third. Cronulla and Melbourne have dropped down to fourth and fifth, respectively. Canberra Raiders have gone up to sixth. Warriors have gone up to seventh. And the Dolphins have dropped down to number 8. That rounds out the top 8.
Yeah, and then for all the rest of the crap teams, we got the Roosters at 9th. They went up to 9th. Manly went up to 10th. Newcastle went up to 11th. Parramatta went up to 12th. Titans went down to 13th. Cowboys went up to 14th. And then the Bulldogs went down to 15th. Tigers went down to 16th. Dragons stayed where they belong at dead last at 17th. So we were talking before the show started, Paul and I, about how tight this is and how essentially every game's a must-win, because I was talking about the Warriors game. If the Warriors lose to the Raiders and, like, the Roosters win, Warriors are out of the 8, Roosters are in the 8.
Yeah. It's crazy
like that.
close. It's crazy close because we're sitting here talking about how well the Warriors are doing. They're in the same amount of competition points as the Roosters, who we're pretty much talking about how poorly they're going.
How poorly they're doing, yeah. And, the points differential is all over the place. I know it doesn't show it there, but the Raiders, is it the Raiders, I think, Paul, that are on, like, negative 40-something?
Sorry, I'm talking away here. But, the Raiders on negative 49.
Yeah, negative 49, and they're sitting at 6. And then, like, Parramatta are on, like, positive 50, and they're sitting at 12.
Raiders are about to be negative 99 after this round.
Yep.
Sorry, Simon.
It's interesting. It makes it more interesting. You not really resigned to these are the teams that are going to be in the finals months before the finals actually happen. Like we kind of had last year, where we essentially had 6 teams already booked in halfway through the season, and it was just which of the 7 and 8 who's going to get those spots. So we can literally say there might be 2 or 3 teams that you kind of feel are always going to stay there, but the rest could really jump. So as long as the Dragons stay last, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to our tips. Paul, come on, Paul.
Show it. The next one. There it is.
Still,
gorgeous.
Still last. I don't know why you're so excited at being last, but Simon got 4 out of 7. His worst showing in some time, but he's still in the lead at 68 out of 108.
He's still thrashing us.
I got 5 out of 7. 2 games wrong. The bloody Melbourne and the Sharks. And I'm 63 out of 108. Richard got every game right bar Melbourne, and has caught up to me at 63 out of 108, and is only last because of the alphabet. So
bloody Melbourne.
No one has yet to get a perfect round this year, so I haven't had to put my beautiful little star next to their name. So hopefully that happens at some point, and hopefully it's for me. But it is what it is. So we'll move into questions. We've already shown that picture, Paul. We don't need to see the multi again.
No, what do you mean? Me losing money? Everyone loves to see me losing money. So Mark asks us from Room Hammer, who do you reckon will be the 29th and 30th players for the Warriors squad? Yep. So it's all about
I
signing.
think that was Mark Roberts.
Yeah, different
Mark
Mark.
Roberts. Oh, sorry, different Mark. Sorry, different Mark. Right, Roberts.
So what was it? Who will be the signings? 29th and 30th.
Yep.
Go on,
Brad
Richie.
and Richie.
They probably do need another front rower.
They do.
They'll take minimum wage. It's fine.
I actually, I'm not sure on that one. I said a couple of shows ago, I'm pretty content with where our roster's at. I think it's got a real nice balance, and I'd almost like us to promote within. Look at some of the juniors that are playing really well that aren't on a full-time contract, and try and fulfill our needs from there. Become a true development club.
29th, I think, will be a forward from within the ranks that hasn't been upgraded yet. I think there'll be a forward that gets upgraded. 30 will be Roger.
Yeah,
Roger,
there you
two
go.
of us.
Roger.
We've got till the 30th of June. When Super Rugby finish, like the 24th? Right, for the
It's
Blues.
the finals starting this weekend.
Blues will end this weekend when they lose.
Ouch.
Wow.
The Blues will definitely win this weekend. They've got 2 more weekends to go, at least, maybe 3. But look, then there's All Blacks. I can't see RTS being available this year.
No.
He's not going to get picked in the All Blacks. You're dreaming, Matt. You know, he only gets picked from the Blues when they're desperate. So,
he's not in the Blues this weekend, which is a bit of a. But I can't see New Zealand will be releasing him.
Once it's going to happen. It's written in the stars.
So on that kind of note, Jacko asks, what's your opinion on Webster saying that CNK is locked in at fullback next year? Not sure where RTS will play.
Centre or front row, one of those two. That's the 2 spots we need help with. So
front row.
It's not hard. It's not hard to be a front row. I did it. If I can do it, I'm sure Roger can. He'll be centre.
Maybe hooker, but not prop.
He'll be centre.
Yeah.
I know he's never played centre in the NRL before, but
I think he'll do just fine.
We watched Josh Curran just do it, never playing centre before, and do all right. I'm pretty sure Roger can do it. But I think that's where it's going to be. It seems like the only logical choice if CNK is being fullback.
Yeah, I'm happy enough for Webby to declare CNK as the incumbent fullback for next year, because he's the incumbent now, and I think he's playing really, really well.
Look, even if he's not, it gives the guy confidence going in for the rest of this year, right? So don't bash his confidence and say, oh yeah, look, he's getting this. He's on borrowed time. Back the kid who's there now, and I'm sure RTS won't mind. I'll be honest, the guy, when we're looking at the lineup from here, the guy that you guys always kind of bash is Adam Pompey.
That's Brad.
He's gone. They haven't announced that he's been signed yet. I think he's gone. Where's the gap for RTS? There you go. That's the jersey, right? Yeah.
Which is in the.
It's definitely one of those centre spots, I think. Yeah.
Adam Pompey might be re-signed, and to his credit, I give him shit every week, but he has moments where he does stuff that I don't think anyone else can do. But then he also does stupid things that no one else would ever dream of doing. So it's really rocks and diamonds with him. It's the cliche, but it is. This year, I feel like he's done more good than bad, but there's just a personal bias for me for some reason where I just don't like him. I don't know what it is. I'm sure he's a great guy, but for some reason, it's just any stage I get, I try to find another player that can replace him in the lineup. I don't know.
On a similar kind of line, Bjorn asks us, with new signings, who do you think we're going to lose next year? So which players are going to be leaving the Warriors? Okay, so Pompey. Anybody else?
Bailey Sirenen.
So Pompey, who's been who's been kind of nailed on starter for all this season, is gone. And
I'm just going with who's off contract at the moment. The only 2 that are off contract are Adam Pompey and Bailey Sirenen, and Adam Pompey's a centre, and we've said we're signing bringing in Roger for centre, so it seems that it
Yeah.
would switch. And Chanel Harris-Tavita can fill in that role that Bailey Sirenan's got with the team, in my opinion. So I feel like Chanel comes in for Bailey. In terms of players that's contracted, I know there's been all sorts of rumors, like Josh Curran apparently is on the outer. I feel like if that performance alone last week keeps him, they're not going to release him really. So yeah, I'm only going with who's off contract, and there's 2 in the squad at the moment, and I think they'll both go.
That's the questions in the live chat, guys.
Okay, so I'll go with my one because I feel like it's quicker.
Sure.
With Cleary out of Origin and the next match being a must-win, who would your halves pairing for New South Wales be?
This is a super loaded one because so many ways you could go. I don't envy Fittler at all, especially given his job's probably on the line. Who have they used recently when Cleary not available? They've used Mitch Moses for a game. I personally wouldn't go that way.
No.
You've got your reigning Dally M, Nico Hines, which I think he's a really good shot, given that he's been in the squad and was on the bench. Or you go left field and you go to someone like Adam Reynolds, who is probably playing as good as he ever has. He's playing for a Queensland side. He's used to Suncorp. They're going to Suncorp for game 2. So if you want to go left field, you could go Adam Reynolds. Then you think of combos. Is Luai only there because he's got the combo with Cleary? Do you then shave Luai off as well and promote someone else, like maybe Hines to 6 or Cody Walker? I think if I were Fittler, I might go conservative and just straight swap with Nico Hines, given that he's already been in there this year and sort of knows the game plan and he's been around the squad. Then you just think, who do you put on the bench in his place? Maybe Damien Cook as a bit of hooker help.
I think they should have had 2 hookers.
I think so too.
I would go conservative. If we're going conservative, I think it's Nico and Luai.
Yeah.
Just because they're already in the side. If I was in charge, it would be Nico and Cody Walker with Luai gone. Or no, it wouldn't. It would be Nico and Matt Burton. Because on the prediction show with Ruud Ham we did at the beginning of the year, my prediction was Matt Burton would beat Luai for the 6 for New South Wales. So I need Burton to be picked, so my prediction's correct.
Well, Burton would be another good utility for the bench.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think, like what you said, though, Nico's already been in the camp, so's Luai. Put them 2 together. Do I think that's a halves pairing that's going to win against Queensland? I don't think so. But I would be interested in a Nico Walker. Reynolds is good. There's a lot of options.
I think if you go on Walker, it'd be great to pick Reynolds. And then you bank on Latrell. Yeah, and you bank on Latrell being back in the centres. You hope that Cam Murray comes right, and then you've got some combos there.
Yeah.
But that would be very much changing a lot of personnel and hoping that it comes
I feel
up
like
trumps.
they need to, though.
Yeah, possibly that's what they need to throw the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting questions. Your question for me.
I was just interested in what your thoughts of Luke Metcalf has been since his inclusion in the team, and once Tamaita Martin is fit, is it still his jersey? Who do you think wins the battle for that 6th jersey?
I love little Lukey. Think he's a hell of a talent. He's had 2 tries for the Warriors, and I got to watch both of them live. The first one in that preseason, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
But I think he's a great talent. I think as long as he stays with the Warriors, I think he's going to be a key figure. But when Tamari's fit, Tamari comes back for me. I feel like Tamari and Sean are the halves right now that they need to be successful going in. Luke is a great stopgap at the moment, but Tamari, he's more defensively sound. as well. Has that experience to kind of help Sean out. So yeah, based on what we've seen so far out of 2 games with Luke, Tamari gets it from. Who's to say if Luke has a blinder this week against the Raiders, that changes my opinion? I'm not sure. But what about you?
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I think once Tomato Martin's fit, I think he was going really well and combining well with the boys.
Sean.
Yeah, with Sean in particular. So once he's fit, I think he's the owner of that jersey for the time being, and he'd be the one to take it when everyone's back on deck.
Yeah, and I see before we move on, there is a question that was dropped in at the end there, which I'm doing Paul's job for him. See, and then we clashed there. From Ben, if
you guys just shut up, and I was going to bring it in.
So yeah, Ben said, if you drop Tedesco, who plays fullback, and do you bring Edwards in?
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, Ben's a mate of mine. I'll give a shout out. Hey Ben, hope you're doing well. Yeah, I would give Edwards a crack given his form the past couple of years. He's probably been the best fullback, arguably, in the NRL the past couple of seasons. So, what more have you got to do to get a shot at the next level?
Yeah, I know like the obvious one is to put Latrell or Tommy Turbo at fullback, but if they're already in the team doing well in the centres, bring Edwards in at fullback. That's what I would do. I think Edwards, is well deserving of a call-up, but I'm happy for him not to because, I like seeing New South Wales dig their own grave as they do. So, yeah, I'm all for keeping him out. But, yeah, I think... you make that, you have Edwards at fullback, the Latrell Turbo in the centres, have Nico in the halves, put Cody in there, or Reynolds as well. It's an exciting looking team and looks dangerous, rather than having a whole lot of has-beens that can't do it at that level anymore, like Tommy, like Tedesco and Cleary, who doesn't really kick on in Origin, in my opinion. But, yeah. Interesting. I'm just hitting them low while they're losing. So we'll move on. Round 15. I know we'll go with Warriors Raiders. You want to read out the Warriors lineup, Richie?
Speed reading.
Sure, mate. I'm just bringing it up on my phone since you didn't put it in the notes. The Warriors lineup is fullback Chance, Nicole Klostad keeps his spot there. Dallin, Watene-Zelezniak, Marcelo Montoya on the wings. Adam Pompey, one centre. We have a debut at the other centre spot. Ali Leatua. The halves, Luke Metcalf, Sean Johnson. Front row, Adam Fanua, Blake Wade Egan, Bunty Arfour. Edge back rows, Jackson Ford, Marata Niokore. And the lock, Tohu Harris. Interchange bench, Bailey Siren and Josh Curran. Mitch Barnett, Tom Ale.
Yeah, and as Paul mentioned, it is actually on the screen we're looking at.
It's so small, Paul. I can't see that, mate. There's
you need a bigger screen, mate.
I need a second screen is what I need. I've got a split screen scenario.
I've got a second screen and it does wonders. But the Raiders team, Sebastian Chris at fullback, Albert Hopewadi and Jordan Rapana on the wings. Centres, we've got Matt Tomoko and Mr. 300 himself, Jared Croker. Halves, we've got Jack Whiten and Jamal Fogarty. Front row, we've got Josh Papali'i, Zach Wolford, and Joseph Tapani. Second row, we've got Hudson Young and Elliot Whitehead. And then lock, we've got the big red machine, Corey Horsburgh. And then the bench, we've got Tom Starling, Imre Gula, Nick Kotrick, and Pastrami Solo, whatever it is. I'm sorry. Yeah, not a bad team. So this one was an interesting one for me when I was looking at my picks. I've just said I think the Warriors are going to go into a roll. Raiders are hard to beat at home, and it's Jared Croker's 300th, so you'll think they'd want to play for him, but in all honesty, come on, they were trying to make him retire last year. They don't care about Croker. I know Simon's going to be upset about that, but they don't care. But I'm just going on the fact that Raiders fade in the second half and the Warriors get better. So I'm going with the Warriors to upset the party at home against the Raiders.
Yeah, Brad's going to get us cancelled calling people pastrami.
I'm sick, guys. I'm sorry.
I think we looked at this block of games a couple of weeks ago, and this game was one that I said I could see us losing out of that block of games.
Out of that block of 3, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm U-turning on that. I
was the same.
Yeah.
I said Broncos, Dolphins win, lose against the Raiders, and now I've switched it.
I'm going all in on the Warriors after a real nice win on the weekend, so I'm going to tip us for the upset here.
Yeah, it's obviously it's fully in jest. I think he should have had his 300th last year. What your mate Ricky and that were doing to him last year was a disgrace, in my opinion. And it's like the moment they decide, okay, we'll let the old guy back in, the Raiders have started playing better than ever. So, he should have always been in there. So, yeah, I think it's great that he's got to 300 as well. I was really worried he was going to retire before that. And, yeah, it'll make it a big occasion. But, Paul, if you want to jump in and let us know what Simon's picked, because me and Richard have picked correctly with the Warriors. But what has Simon picked?
Hey, geez, Warriors on a 2-2 form guideline. The big green machine, 4 wins and 1 loss from the last 5 games. You guys haven't got a clue. Raiders all the way.
It's clear we haven't had a clue all year. So
yeah.
And yeah, like Mark Roberts said, the Warriors have got 3 milestone men too. So because I think it's
Leah Taylor's
50th.
Curran's 50th. Leah Taylor's debut. Wasn't it? Who else was it? Bring it up, Brad. Google it.
I have no idea.
Jeez, these guys call themselves fans.
Man, I've been sick all week. I've been struggling to keep my life together. All right.
Deary me.
Hold on. I'm getting there.
Was it Fanua Blake's 50th for the Warriors?
It might be.
We'll say it is. Let's move on.
Yeah. So we'll go to the rest. Rest of the round. So first game up, if you want to bring the fixtures up, Paul, we're waiting on you, mate. There we go. See.
Okay. First,
Mark said
against the club.
Yeah, was AFB.
It's exactly what we were saying. We just took a long time to say it. First game on Thursday, we got Titans versus Tigers. I've gone with the Tigers here. I don't trust the Titans at all, and the Titans can't defend. Tigers can attack, so I think the Tigers are going to get the job done.
I don't trust either of these teams. Threw a dart at the dartboard and it came up Titans.
Home advantage, Titans.
Yeah. We've just covered the Warriors, Raiders. We've both picked Warriors. Paul/Simon gone Raiders. Next game up, we got Manly versus Dolphins. I've gone with Manly. Home field advantage. I think all the Origin players are going to want to put their name up since New South Wales is getting a bit itchy. So I think they'll get the job done.
I went Dolphins.
You can't pick against the Dolphins this year. Got to go with the Dolphins. Also, it's Eagles on a 1 win, 3 losses run at the moment. Sorry, Dolphins it is.
The ambush is coming. Next game up, Dragons, Rabbitohs. Pick Rabbitohs because I don't pick Dragons.
Yeah, same.
Sorry, I've got blank. I was just trying to jump around. Rabbitohs. Yep.
Rabbitohs.
Yep.
Next game, we've got Broncos, Knights. I've gone with Broncos. Need I say more?
Yeah, easy pick. Broncos.
Yep, everyone's going Broncos. Yep.
Next game, Roosters, Panthers. Kind of similar. Easy pick. I've gone with Panthers.
Easy without Cleary?
It's against the Roosters. The Roosters can't beat anybody.
Yeah,
except for the Bulldogs last week.
Yeah, I get the same feeling. I win Panthers as well.
Yeah, Panthers are just too good at the top there. On a 4-0 run at the moment, 4 wins, no losses. Is their form guideline? So, yeah, got to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, and then the games on Sunday, we got Storm Sharks. I've gone with the Storm. I feel like the Storm are going to be hurting after that loss against the Cowboys, so they'll be out and they're at home.
I think both teams will be hurting, both coming off a loss. I reluctantly went Sharks.
Oh,
yeah.
Going home advantage, Storm this one.
Yeah, and then the last game of the round, Bulldogs versus Eels. I've gone with Eels. I just feel like they'll have the edge here.
Yeah, I was pondering dogs because Dylan Brown has been stood down. But yeah, I'm going to stay with Eels.
I'm sorry. How you can even think about the Dogs this one? Eels, look, they've been hard done by this season. They've got a plus 52 points difference. They should be about 3 or 4 games more wins this year. Sure, they're in a losing habit, but you've got to say Eels just too good for the Dogs.
This is traditionally a tight game, one of the battles of West Sydney. So, but I'm going to stay Eels. I'll stay true.
Yeah.
So 4 games the same this weekend?
I think so.
This has got to be the week. It has to be.
Now 5 games. 5 games. We got Rabbitohs, Broncos, Panthers, Storm, Eels. No, Storm. Richard ruined that, so it is 4. Sorry. So we have a chance. We have a chance of a multi. Maybe. Maybe. But so that was it for NRL. So we'll quickly go through Super League because we're going to try to get 2 hours, I reckon. We've got to get there.
I was going to bring up the multi quickly.
Bring up the multi first.
And so there we are. So $2 will bring us back $7.40, folks, with that multi. So we'll keep you up to date next week as to how the multi goes.
Yeah. Well, it'll be easy spoiler because once we finally get a multi, that's going to be in the show title. So hopefully it's next week. But yeah, Super League now. So after a big win over Wigan, Catalans have moved to first on the ladder. Warrington are second due to points differential. Wigan third and Lee fourth. So Lee, worst jersey in the world, but they're doing all right on the field.
They're doing pretty good.
Wakefield. Still last after their 14th loss in a row. Now 0-14 for the season. I looked at their draw this week, and I don't see it happening this week either. So it was Magic Weekend in the UK. Salford defeated Hull KR 26-16. Catalans defeated Wigan 46-22.
No good.
Castleford defeated Leeds 26-24. Lee defeated Wakefield 30-4. St. Helens defeated Uddersfield 18-6, and then Hull FC defeated Warrington 30-18. And then this week round 15 we've got Lee versus Hull FC, Castleford versus Salford, St. Helens versus Wigan, Warrington versus Uddersfield, Catalans versus Hull KR, and then Wakefield versus Leeds. So I don't see them beating Leeds. Anything you want to add about Super League or anything else before we sign off?
No, there's a couple of results I didn't see coming. I didn't see Wigan getting trounced as badly as they did, and I was tipping Leeds, but other than that, thanks for sitting in my chair, Paul. I'll have to listen back. I'm sure you did a great job, and I probably
did.
I'm probably going to be fired next week. So,
the love from the live chat was unreal. I tell you, unreal.
And I threw many early ones at him to try to throw him under the bus too. So he's probably put notes down that he actually might have to watch some league now, just in case he's called on as a sub. And I see Mark Roberts has mentioned about Hiku. We talked about that last week about Hiku signing with the Super League. To go become the greatest player up there, as they all do.
The bakery's taking his pies up north.
And then Simon said, the one thing about Lee is that they changed their name, and I have an owner who's put money at them. Because what were they before they were the Lee Leopards? They were the Lee...
Centurions.
Centurions, that's it. It's been that long now. It's just... automatically goes to leopards for me. But yeah, you're going off on a rant there. So let's get back on track. the sick
That's what we
medication's
do.
wearing off.
That's
Sick
what we do. We
medication's
go on
wearing off.
rants.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in tonight and joining us on the Standoff with Brad and Richie. For your weekly update on rugby league, tune into our show next week at 8 p.m. here on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching it. Just remember to search for New Zealand Sport Radio. Cheers for turning up late, Richie. And
You're welcome.
thank you, Paul, for all your help in the background and carrying the show at the start. And good night, everyone.